But next, I would like to welcome Dan Enright, CEO of Amped Finance, Joyce Lee, Head of Product at Crossmint, Sri Misra, CEO of aarnâ AI, and Seg Rashid, who will moderate this panel about the urgency of AI. Welcome on stage, guys.
Hey everyone, is this milk? No, I haven't seen boxed water before. Interesting. So great to have everybody. Obviously, the topic is a super exciting one, something that everybody's been talking about recently, obviously. And all three of our panelists have their companies or their platforms doing something with AI. So it's going to be interesting to hear the different perspectives while they've been developing their products and services. So you have Dan, Joyce, and Sri. Why don't we start with Dan, if you can introduce yourself and Amped a little bit.
Sure, I'm Dan Enright. I'm the founder and CEO of Amped Finance. It's a Sonic native DEX, liquidity hub. We've got about 8 different tokens available for trade on the platform. We actually started as a perps DEX on the network, but we're based on the GMX V1 contracts. So, of course, when that exploit took place, we are now a liquidity hub. But I'd say 99% of our volume was straight swaps anyway, so it hasn't really impacted our business. We have always been focused on the user experience, so we integrated with Hey Anon fairly early on, so allowing people to trade via an LLM, and we're focused on developing offerings that leverage on AI and yeah, help people save time and, I guess, convenience when dealing with crypto.
Yeah, I was talking to Dan a little bit before this, but I think UX is one of the premier use cases for AI, so that's cool to hear. Joyce?
Hey everyone, I'm Joyce, and I do product at Crossmint. So what Crossmint is it's a platform to help developers and agents go on chain. So we have everything you can think of, from wallets to stablecoin payment rails, and recently also working on our agents initiative. So how do agents buy and pay for anything on the internet with stablecoins, basically? So that's what I do at Crossmint, and I was previously at a few different crypto companies, and also started and sold my own company before joining Crossmint.
Nice, so agentic transactions and things like that, right?
Basically, yeah, agentic finance, agentic commerce, but how can crypto be at the center of all this and power all these agentic applications?
Cool, I'd like to dive into that a little bit deeper after Sri.
Hi, morning everyone. I'm Shri. I'm the founder of aarnâ protocol. Aarnâ is an AI native on-chain asset management platform. And what we do is bring a deep learning framework and tokenization together to create an infrastructure layer for creating crypto structured products. Just like there are, in TradFi, there are most access to underlying assets are through structured products. So this is the infrastructure layer that we've created at aarnâ protocol. And then abstract all the complexity and mumbo jumbo of all of that and provide mobile first access to these structured products on what I believe is one of the finest DeFi dApps, both on iOS and Android stores, the aarnâ dApp. So that's what aarnâ is about. And so I'm based in Singapore, so I can probably say welcome to everyone. aarnâ is based out of here, and aarnâ Lab is back in the eastern part of India. I used to do mergers and acquisitions in London earlier, and then moved on to build my first startup, which was a consumer tech company in India. Fidelity were my main investors. Exited that, and then been at aarnâ and on-chain asset management for now.
Nice. So where does AI, let's start with maybe a little bit more of an in-depth explanation as to how AI plugs into what you do and what you provide.
Okay, so if I were to sort of stay true to your topic, which is about the urgency of AI, I think there are two areas which AI and crypto or on-chain finance need to strongly intersect on. And one is very briefly, and that's not something which is what we do at Aarnâ, but is very critical, is around security. And they've been sort of already in the first quarter of this year. There's over almost $1.5 billion of hacks. Last year was $2 billion. Unless we've got predictive intelligence that looks at managed, organized security hacks, DeFi will continue to be vulnerable. It's one of the reasons why DeFi is probably at 200 billion, even though the market, crypto market is already at 4 trillion. There's no reason why DeFi shouldn't be $1 trillion already. Moving on from there, what we do specifically at Aarnâ, and that's the second point, which is about on-chain asset management. So if you see DeFi, it's only become more and more complex. You know, DeFi happened to me around 4 years back, and I thought it's going to become simpler, but I just saw that it becomes progressively more complex. And that's why we need structured products to abstract that complexity using intelligence, AI, and risk management frameworks. So what Aarnâ does is we have a deep learning framework called Alpha 37, which has been trained over more than 3 years of data from on-chain analytics, from social sentiment, and from technical indicators. All of this go into training a deep learning framework, which is then designed to have predictive capabilities to identify opportunities and risk. Now, this can be used for multiple applications. One of the applications we are using it for right now is AI quant structured products. But where we are moving on is to have an agentic framework which will have access to the Alpha 37 model and be able to optimize yield, manage risk on leverage, and do everything in a composite product through Aarnâ protocol for users. So essentially helping higher value deployers of capital to manage their entire digital assets deployment through this protocol, which brings uses AI to, as I said, to identify opportunity, manage risk, and we are moving into autonomous execution, where through this agentic framework, the execution will also be completely managed autonomously. So that's what Aarnâ AI is.
That's great. I think one question that a lot of people ask about agentic action taking, and especially when it has to do with finance and applications that involve monetary value, is that if AI, like for example ChatGPT and these other models, are making basic mistakes now as they hallucinate and all this other stuff, how is it safe to allow an agent to control your finances? I'll pass it to Joyce.
Yeah, so at Crossmint, we're not an agent company, but we've realized that to actually sell the solution, we've had to work with a lot of new evaluation companies basically that can evaluate how safe and how accurate an agent is. Because at the core of it, what we do is we help agents transact on chain. So when we say we help agents transact on chain, it's technically the responsibility of the agent developer to make sure that it passes all benchmarks and evaluation tests. But in recent times, we have also had to actually work on the agents and also work on the tests and evaluations ourselves. And what we've found is that the tricky part about monetary agents is that you don't really know what kind of evaluations to design to actually test these agents. And so it's been a lot of trial and error. Obviously, as I said, we're not at the core an agent company, but we've been trying to push this forward from our side, where we're like, okay, agents don't need bank accounts to transact now. That's amazing. But how do we design these guardrails so that they don't actually just spend whatever you give them? And so we've also come up with this concept called agent wallets, where your keys are held by both the agent itself in a TE and also the developer or the owner of the agent, where you can have as many keys as you want outside of the TEA. So no single key can rug the agent, and no agent can rug you by just spending whatever they want. So that's on the more crypto side of things, and then on the more agent side of things, it's how do we actually design good benchmarks so that we can safely deploy these agents, or we can tell our customers, hey, by the way, if you want to deploy safe agents, here's what we've done. Here's kind of a playbook that you can kind of copy.
Okay, I think there's some really interesting insights there. So from what I got, you're saying that Crossmint is sort of agnostic to the actual agent implementation that's done by the user, but you provide the tools for them to be able to execute. Okay, and then the other thing you said was if you were to, or you're planning to go more sort of hands-on with that, you would build in like human oversight, like a multi-sig type of system where the human signs off on the proposed transaction, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I see you nodding, Sri. You have a...
Yeah, no, I think I was going to say sort of having humans in the loop in autonomous execution is absolutely vital. So till we reach that stage, the agentic framework can initiate the transaction, and we need to have a multi-sig framework for larger transactions, especially with thresholds, which then there is a signer who actually approves that.
Okay, so with just going back to the topic a little bit, with the urgency of AI comes the risk of people implementing subpar solutions and then causing problems like loss of capital, et cetera, trying to push out a product that's not ready. And so one potential remedy for that, as agents are not sort of ready to go fully autonomous, is to incorporate human oversight. That's sort of what I think I'm hearing from the panelists. It's a good insight. And Dan, do you have anything with AMP that has relevance to this sort of security?
I suppose from the developer's perspective as well, we've been using AI a lot to build our platform with. So of course there's going to be the need to verify what has been output by the agent when it's been, spitting out code. And I'm pleased to see there's a lot of developments going on in the space at the moment. For instance, we work a lot with Sherlock at the moment, and they've just developed an AI tool to vet code as a first pass before going on to that audit stage to make sure that what has been developed is, bulletproof when it comes to handling finances. So yeah, I'm very pleased to see what you're doing with Spawn as well. I think that's a great initiative. We couldn't have put AMP in the place that it is now without using AI tools to develop it with. So I'm excited to see what Spawn, what people can develop with Spawn from ideas that they've got to bring to Sonic as well.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. I was gonna sort of give the audience a little teaser. There's a keynote later about Spawn, so I'll go through most of it there. But yeah, just so for those of you who don't know, Spawn is an in-house project that's being developed by Sonic Labs that allows people to build full stack Web3 applications with no coding experience. And then one of the main challenges there is obviously security, right? You can't have people who are not technically experienced launching apps that don't have any human oversight. So I think it's interesting that also with Spawn, we have converged on security via human oversight as the best solution. So the idea, I think it's permeating across many different companies and products, and they're all converging on a similar type of, I think, structure where you have a massive reduction in effort and time to build something via AI, but you also don't allow for fully autonomous execution yet. You just keep the human in the loop, maybe adding a little bit of effort at the end of a process to check and verify before deploying mission-critical applications. And I think that's sort of a common theme as to how you can mitigate some of these security issues. Obviously, that's also not foolproof, but I think that's where the industry seems to be going. So that's a really interesting insight. I wanted to ask, what do you guys see with respect to, I guess, are you guys, I know Sri, you guys seem to have a bit more of a custom build that you're doing in-house, but are you guys seeing the use of frontier models provided by third parties as the solution to a lot of your AI needs, or are you building more in-house, or is it sort of a hybrid? Just curious to hear what you're doing with your implementations. Let's start with Sri.
So again, I think it's a sort of a hybrid approach. Obviously, you can't build large foundational models and Gen A. So wherever there is a LLM-based Gen AI input needed into the framework, then obviously you depend upon foundational models. But to think that you can just build a wrapper on a ChatGPT or a Claude and that's going to be managing your entire agentic framework, especially when you're going to hand over a wallet and capital and look at overall risk management in DeFi, that's not going to happen. So that's where you need custom models to be there, and that's where sort of where we have put in a lot of our effort with the Alpha 37 deep learning framework. But it works in conjunction. I mean, agents are only as good as the tools that they have access to. So the Gen AI LLM side is one tool that they broadly will have access to as a wrapper. Then on top of that, separately have your custom built model and framework. And that will enable agents to be more very sort of manage specific execution. So take a simple thing like, LPs, larger investors, having optimizing yield, are working on multiple platforms, multiple protocols, have multiple leverage loops going on at the same time, and also looking at optimizing yield on multiple stables or assets across multiple pools. So when you put that whole mix together, it's an agentic framework on top of that, which has access to risk management tools, and also has access through to on-chain data, will be able to kind of manage this situation much more robustly for large deployers. So that's where, essentially where I'm coming from is that you need a hybrid approach, and at least that's the approach that we've taken with aarnâ's ATV vaults combined with our agentic framework.
Great. So hybrid approach for aarnâ. That's good to hear. Joyce?
So I think, so I have a little bit of a differing opinion where I think instead of focusing on which model we're using, obviously, fine tune it, whatever. But we should be thinking more about what kind of reinforcement learning environments can we be creating to actually have these agents be in a simulated environment where it knows how to interact with the ever more complex DeFi applications. I think that's the one very big piece that we're missing right now. A lot of crypto apps are like, well, our models are the best for DeFi because it knows everything about DeFi. It has a huge knowledge base about DeFi. But having that knowledge base is not enough because your agents deployed will not know how to interact with these applications. And the reason why there's so many trading agents don't do well is because when it comes to actually being in a real life situation where a trader will have to make decisions, they've never been in a simulated environment like that. And so they don't know how to actually trade or actually do DeFi actions on even the simplest DeFi apps. So that's my take, that's my thought. To me, the underlying model is not as important. It's still important. Obviously, there's certain models that are fine-tuned and better for certain things, but that is not as important as I think actually putting the agents in a game or a simulated environment where it knows how to make decisions and you can tell them this is wrong, this is right, and then it goes out to the real world and actually does stuff.
So yeah, this is also a trend that I've heard quite a lot in the AI dev community, which is around context enrichment is sort of even more important than maybe the base model you choose. Both of them are important, but if you're trying to build an agentic system, it has to have all the information about the specific context that you're trying to operate within so it can take the correct action. So irrespective of how intelligent your model is, if it has to do this doesn't make sense, but a rough approximation, whatever, IQ of 300, it doesn't matter if it doesn't have the context for the thing you're trying to get it to do. And so intelligence can make up for some lack of context, but not enough that you could build like a robust product or service without good context. So I think context is another thing that's super, super important. Dan, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think you've all touched on something that was important to us from day one when we were developing the platform. So from a trading perspective, we wanted to make sure that we were providing an agentic experience layer that was going to be, I guess, interpretable by any agent that will be trading on the platform. We wanted it to be available more than anything. So that was apparent to us from when we first started developing the Hey anon integration. We also started developing an MCP server because that was a commonly accepted protocol way to interface with DeFi. So yeah, that's going to be important for us going forward as well, making sure that what we build in the future is going to be available for any agents, because we're not going to pretend to know what the leading LLM is going to be in 6 months' time. We just want to make sure that our platform is compatible and available.
Yeah, and I think something that even the non-devs and everybody here can take away is that from this sort of insight is, if you want the model to do, like if you're using ChatGPT or something else, if you want it to do the thing you're trying to get it to do as best as possible, you should provide it as much information around the problem or the topic that you're trying to get it to act upon as possible. So when Dan mentions MCP, what that means is it's a model context protocol, which is sort of an established norm for allowing the model to retrieve context when it needs to retrieve context by itself. So as an example, it could call, if you're trying to get the model to predict some weather event or something like that, it can call an API potentially to get live weather data, because that's not in its training set. So like, as you guys may know, like models have, at least the frontier models have usually cutoffs of their training. So you'll have like a 2024 December cutoff where it doesn't have actual live data unless it actually goes out and gets it. And so an MCP allows for an agent to get context and enrich itself with that context. Or you can do it manually, or if you're trying to get it to answer a specific problem of yours or a question or explore a topic. So provide models with as much context as possible. The last topic I wanted to discuss.
Just want to add on to that point. I mean, yeah, the context is sort of goes without saying, obviously, super critical. At the same time, the featureization, even in the extent of featureization and the feature engineering that is designed for the training of some of these custom models is vital for providing that context. So at least in our experience, we've seen hand engineering multiple of these features was absolutely vital for the model to get that context. But obviously, there's only, and it's something that sort of evolves over time. So the context is absolutely vital from even a model training perspective in terms of how much focus has been put on the featureization side of it from a context perspective.
So on the training side and also the usage side, context is super important. That's an important point. And I think last topic I wanted to discuss was the urgency of AI relative to the blockchain space. So we see a lot of, and we've seen a lot of agentic sort of use cases for on the blockchain, but I feel like not too many have been wildly successful or massive hits in terms of their uptake and adoption. So I just wanted to hear from each of you what you think, first, your product does differently, and what is the urgency of incorporating AI into the blockchain space with respect to your products? Let's start with Dan.
Yeah, I think at the moment it's the UX that is the most apparent, immediate low-hanging fruit for AI. I think for people interacting with that, like the apps that I've seen have the most adoption and success of those that enable people to purchase tokens via a tweet or things like that. I think that that's going to be something that's important for what's delivered for AI and crypto in the near term. I think crypto's having a bit of a moment in, I guess, the wider economy. So I think anything that helps the regular person, I guess, identify and obtain and hold crypto that they're interested in will be where we see the most fruit for AI and crypto.
So what I'm hearing is crypto has had a UX problem for a long time, as everybody agrees with, right? And AI can potentially help non-technical users navigate that with the right safeguards and that kind of thing. That's an important point. Joyce?
Yeah, I think when you think about it from first principles, you're like, why does AI and crypto need to be together? Why does AI need crypto? But one thing that's kind of alarming is that there are many players trying to make the internet more closed instead of more open. So Cloudflare is trying to gate agents, and then you have, a lot of like websites just being like agents cannot pay, agents need bank accounts, and this is where crypto comes in, right? Cloudflare doesn't actually want to gate; they want agents to start paying them. But the only way agents can pay them is with stablecoins and on crypto rails. So that's just one example. Well, Crossmint is the best for this because currently we're still the only provider that allows any agent to buy over 1 billion SKUs on the internet, on Amazon, Shopify, flights, food delivery, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's just my answer.
Great. And to close, Sri.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, the urgency is really about what will scale DeFi so that it's not stuck at this 200 billion number. And it's about structured products which are managing managing active strategies, and these active strategies on structured products for DeFi will be possible with AI execution. So that's important. I mean, just to give an analogy, in TradFi, almost 36% of all assets go under managed assets. So out of say 400 trillion, 36% goes through that. In crypto, it's only 3% right now. And for this 3% to grow to 10, 20, 30 fast, we will, and for DeFi to be a chunk of that, to be at least $1 trillion soon, we need structured products, and that's where AI is absolutely vital in from an urgency perspective.
Great. Thank you all for joining us. Have some more exciting AI panels coming up later today, along with other DeFi panels and things like that. But thank you so much, Dan, Joyce, and Sri, for joining us. And thank you all for paying attention. Hope there was some value for everybody.